Welcome to our session today, 15 minutes on scaling intelligence from stock optimization to digital vehicle twin. My name is Florian Gorzitzke. I lead Databricks, the automotive vertical globally. And I'm here with Daniel Hohmann.
Yeah, I'm at Volkswagen in Group Sales IT and responsible for the projects that we are showing here.
Great. So before we go into our presentation, I would like to give you a little bit of context why we have chosen this topic. Databricks is very active across the whole value chain at Volkswagen Group. And here at Hannover Messe, the focus is manufacturing. But having been last week with a few board members of Volkswagen who are focusing on research and development and purchasing, I thought it's actually quite interesting for us to also focus more on the downstream area, because intelligence is not only in manufacturing, but also way beyond that. And for those of you who are familiar with the automotive industry, profitability largely also rests on that part of the value chain. So if you don't do sales and marketing professionally, you're losing a lot of money. That's why we want to talk about this today. And also one interesting thing is everybody who knows and talks about digital twins thinks about the production environment. But a digital twin can actually also be in the sales environment, and that's what Volkswagen Group did together with Databricks. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk you through our project with Volkswagen Group, step by step. At the end, we will also have a few questions, and then if we still have some time left, we can also take some questions from the audience. So without further ado, Daniel, can you tell us a little bit how you started off the project? What was the status quo? And what was the original intention behind this project?
Yeah, with intelligent stock planning, it's about planning stock vehicles. So, I mean, many of you go to a dealership and configure a car exactly like you want it. So you say you want to have the seat heating, and you want to have the panoramic roof, and you want to have this and that, and then the car is exactly built for you. This is one way of getting a car. Another way is to get stock vehicles. So throughout the industry, and depending a bit on the market, a lot of vehicles are sold as stock vehicles. So you have large stockyards, like the one in the picture here. So this is for the Irish market, actually quite a small market, but already a large stockyard where you have stock vehicles sitting, and customers can come into a dealership and get these vehicles within a week or 2 weeks. So it's for the customer, the advantage is that they get a car quite soon. They don't need to wait for the car to be being produced. And well, the challenge is, which vehicles do you put on the stockyard? It has huge impact on the bottom line if you have cars sitting around there that are not selling well. So you need to make sure that the vehicles there are really fitting the customer needs. But also you want to have profitable vehicles there, and you want to satisfy customer wishes in the short term. So in the best case, the customer comes to the dealerships, wants to configure a car, and in the end it turns out it doesn't need to be produced because already in the stockyard the right car is sitting. So this is a bit the challenge of finding the right stock vehicles. And this was the basis for the intelligent stock planning project that we did together with Databricks on the AWS platform.
Awesome. And if we, I think you started this project early last year, right? Yeah. And if we can perhaps also talk a little bit about what were the results, now looking back where you're currently at in this project.
Yeah, so I mean, the aim was to decrease the working capital. So it's the money that is bound in this vehicle sitting in the stockyard, and also decrease the use of tacticals. So you need to imagine vehicles sitting in the stockyard more than 180 days usually get some kind of discount, which is something that is hurting our profitability. So yeah, these vehicles we wanted to optimize. We started the project. We are now live in roughly 10 markets, live for all volume brands plus Audi, so 5 large brands, Skoda, Seat, commercial vehicles, Volkswagen passenger cars, and Audi. And yeah, among the markets are large markets like Germany for Skoda, for example, France for all brands. And we already see quite a good impact. So the average sales price went up in certain markets, and we also see a lower stock time in some markets. But you also needed some time to see the effects, because yeah, the cars need to be produced, but we see positive impacts, and yeah, we're quite happy with the project, and now at the moment we are scaling it over further markets and brands.
So, I mean, that's awesome. I think it's already a very good signal that an initial project is scaling across 10 markets and gaining traction and also covering more than one Volkswagen Group brand. And what I have heard a little bit talking to the Volkswagen team is that this has encouraged also to go to the next step and to extend this project scope. Can you tell us a little bit about what is the next phase and the next evolution of this project?
So one of these challenges when you do such a project is that you need to gather a lot of data. So you need to have data from the markets, which tells you what is the customer demand. So you need to have data from production, which tells you which kind of vehicles you can build. So sometimes certain parts are not available in all the quantities, so you can only produce certain vehicles. And you need to bring all this data together and merge it in some kind of data model. And at the moment, it's roughly maybe 10 different data sources already connected. And if you see this connected set of data, it's something that other people would call already a digital twin. So you have these data sources, they are mapped together, they are consistent, the data quality is checked, because otherwise you could not use it in the process. And what we are now doing is taking this data product and extending it to some version of a digital twin, which should be then used for further use cases. So we are on the one hand looking at how we can generalize it and move it out of the project so that it's not only working for this one project. On the other hand, we are adding additional data sources, so for example additional marketing data or further data from the markets for further use cases, and we're building on the basis of this stock planning, we are building a digital twin that is then usable for further use cases.
Nice. So let's perhaps also have a look at what coverage this use case has, the new one, and perhaps also your view on what the learnings from the intelligent stock management project were for this going in, because I think it gave you also a lot of backwind that it can be done. Yeah.
So, well, maybe from a project management perspective, one thing I would always recommend would be to start small and try to use synergy. So this is two things we did. So we started with a relatively small scope, with a limited number of markets. We also looked at existing projects. If you're working in a large company like Volkswagen, there is each thought or each idea has been tried already at some place within the company. So what we did is building this project actually not from scratch, but we started it based on an existing Skoda solution in this case. And well, the project focus was on basically planning and configuration, so configuring the right cars for the stockyards. What we are now looking into with the digital twin is the further process. So you have, in automotive, you have a sales process that starts somewhere with planning, where you plan the volumes and all the take rates for the different items, which goes over the configuration and ordering of the individual vehicles, through the production, down to the production line, manufacturing execution systems, and then finally into logistics and after sales. And the focus now was at the start part of this process. With the digital twin, the scope is much wider, so we are covering nearly the whole process, maybe keeping out after sales for the beginning, but otherwise the scope is much larger, and we try to extend the project here.
Awesome. So I see in the audience a lot of faces from the automotive industry, but I think it's really an incredible feat if you think what Volkswagen is doing here. I would say the average car has theoretically 5 million different options. Yeah? And if we're talking about also the propulsion systems, which is in the press, that's the easiest part, I would even say. Yeah? But all the colors, the trim levels, and the options, this has a massive impact on actually really trying to have this intelligence up front in the planning process to really make sure that the customer has the car he is desiring at hand. What this also means is that you are really shortening the cash cycles as well, as you said, right? Because the flip rates of the cars and the stock turnover increases. So I think this is really an incredible feat. And as we're also at a technical booth here at AWS, our friends at AWS, I think it would be also fair to also have a look at what in this execution you're still in the middle of the project of the digital twin, but perhaps also just give a little bit of your personal highlights on the features and the advantages of using Databricks on AWS world.
Yeah. So what was quite impressive for me was how fast we were able to develop this complex machine learning models that are at the heart of such a system, from some kind of prototype to a scaled solution. So I've been doing machine learning projects for my whole career. So if you look at me, you think, oh, he's a young guy, but at least for 7 or 8 years I was doing it. So I think having like one working algorithm and then taking it to production is always something which is, or in projects usually is taking a long time and a lot of pain. And what we saw with Databricks, that this process was quite smooth, especially the data analyst loved the Databricks platform for doing it, and this was, I think, one large advantage of having Databricks in the project and not doing the stuff in, I don't know, our own code or in another way. And what we use heavily is the Databricks dashboards. They are quite easily to be configured. You can even ask Genie to just create, the AI assistant to create a dashboard for you. So this is something we are doing a lot to track the project KPIs. So to track whether our project is meeting or is decreasing the stock time. We have lots and lots of dashboards. And it's not so much that we give it out, but for the project internal use, they are quite great. Something special in the project was we needed to migrate from Azure to AWS. So as I said, we based our solution on something that Skoda developed in the past, and they were on an Azure stack. And with Databricks, it was quite easy to do this migration because Databricks is nearly the same on both platforms, so we could migrate it quite easily. And this was something, I mean, as a project manager, you somehow expect how long something might take, even if the team gives you a planning, and in the back of your mind you think, well, maybe this is not realistic, but in the end, we managed the time plans there, and they were quite ambitious, and this was another large advantage. You see the list, maybe some of the smaller topics here. So the reason to go with AWS was mostly that in Group IT there was probably more expertise for this. So as I mentioned, we needed to do the shift, but the reason was mostly the higher AWS knowledge in Volkswagen Group IT. What we're doing a lot is, as I mentioned, this merging these data sources, especially in the digital twin. It becomes even more important. And what helps a lot is that you have a data catalog. So Databricks comes with Unity data catalog, and we integrated it with Colibra. Colibra is another project, but it's very well integrated. And this makes integrating different data sources quite easy. So instead of creating all the interfaces by yourself, so creating OFTP2 interfaces, creating REST APIs, or so on, you could consume the existing data products, and gives you this kind of data shopping experience. And if it's working, it's really great. So this makes a process that usually took months to just a few days, and this is a huge process, and I'm very happy how well Colibra and Databricks Unity are integrated. And maybe last of the topics, or last of the advantages, is I'm really happy about the support from the Databricks team. So we always had somebody to call, and which gave us a helping hand if we had an issue. So this was awesome. Very well.
Nice. Thank you so much, Daniel. I have a last question for you. And the question is, I mean, this project, especially the stock intelligence, is gaining a lot of traction. You're on to the next phase of the project. And I think you're very close to the business. But what do you hear from the business on the usability and the satisfaction? Because, I mean, you're in the IT organization, but you actually need to make it work in the business, yeah? What is your impression on how this project is received and adopted by business?
Well, we have markets all over the world, and one challenge is to roll out these projects over these markets. At the moment, we see a lot of interest from the markets. Last week, there was a large importer conference in Wolfsburg where all the importers come together. Also, there was quite a lot of interest in rolling out the project. So this is, working really well, I think. But to be honest, the user interface is not Databricks based. So we have a user interface that is developed with React, which is a JavaScript front end. So we see quite a lot of adoption here. Maybe one point where we were surprised how well it worked was this kind of Databricks Genie, which is like the AI assistant within Databricks. We tried it out for asking questions to an AI, and the results were quite good. So you could ask it without any preparation at all. We just took the data tables that we had within the project, and we asked them how many cars were sold in a certain market. And we immediately got an answer, and the expert verified it and said, oh, well, it's the right answer. So this was something which was working really well, so that you have your own data somehow in an AI agent. For me, it was like one of the moments you go to work and you just smile because things are working out of the box.
So thank you for that, Daniel. And I think what better way to end the session with a smile?